Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Here are 4 weekday meals that I made last week. I'm just going to jump right into it. On Monday, I made a lemon and garlic tilapia because I thought it would go well with leftover couscous from the night before, and also because it's quick and the oven does most of the work. I'll add the couscous recipe and all the ingredients I used in this recipe to the description box below. That's just some vegetable oil. I know it looks like a lot, but really isn't, I promise. Then I squeezed in the juice of a whole lime. That's garlic powder, black pepper, and parsley that I forgot to film myself adding because I don't know what I was thinking. Then I'm adding some red chili flakes, solid and ground sea salt. I just love sea salt on fish. That's basically it. Then I just swirled the tilapia fillets in there. And then decorated it because I want my dinner to be a treat. Then I popped them in the oven at 200 to 220 degrees Celsius for the next 10 to 12 minutes. Feeling quite lazy this day, I didn't think that I'd have time or energy to make some seasoned potatoes to go with the tilapia, but I did, which turned out to be a nice addition. And that was Monday's dinner. Tuesday, I made fried chicken topped with a buffalo sauce because this happened to be a good use of my last chicken with skin on. I seasoned the chicken with some paprika, cayenne, and then I added chaat masala, which is a South Asian seasoning that tastes like lemon pepper. This step is optional. That's just black pepper and garlic powder. Then I'm scoring my chicken. Ideally, this step would be done before seasoning, but let's just say I was being unconventional. I'm sorry about that crack in my mixing bowl. I'm quite aware that it's there and a new one is on its way. Then I added sea salt and buttermilk, which I made at home. Check the description box to find out how. I left that to marinate for about 10 to 15 minutes. To coat the chicken, I'm using flour and cornstarch and just seasoning that with salt, cayenne pepper, and paprika. Then I very consciously used one hand to knead the chicken into this mix, making sure that it's properly coated because that's the secret to a crispy chicken. Another part of that secret is making sure your oil is hot when the chicken goes in. You can do this by making sure your oil makes gentle bubbles when you put in a wooden spoon. But keep it on a medium flame, especially if you have a non-heavy duty pan like mine. Then the chicken goes into the oven at 170 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. I think I learned this trick from Jamie Oliver. This makes the chicken very tender and juicy on the inside. Now for the buffalo sauce, I'm just adding some regular store-bought buffalo sauce, then paprika, garlic powder, butter, and a dash of vinegar. Then I just drizzled my sauce on my chicken that's fresh out of the oven. And you know that flour and cornstarch mix that's left over from the chicken? I didn't dump it. I just added some seasonings that I will put in the description box. And I added some water, and I added in some de-starched fry-cut potatoes and made some seriously seasoned fries. I'll link my French fry recipe below so you can see how I make them extra crispy. Finally made it to midweek. So for Wednesday, I made a chili shrimp pasta with some garlic bread. This recipe is quite simple. First, I attempted to add pasta to my boiling water very professionally, but wasn't very successful. Close enough though, right? Doesn't really matter. I chopped up some onion, garlic, red chilies, and lime. Then heated some oil in a pan, I sauteed the garlic in it for a bit, then added the red chilies and then the onions. Season these with salt, pepper, and paprika, and squeezed in the lime juice. I added these canned chopped tomatoes and a crushed chicken cube. Then I let it cook while covered for about 10 minutes. And because I'm adding pre-cooked frozen prawns, I added them at the end because I didn't want rubbery plastic tasting prawns. So I just gave them a steam so they warm up. Then I added dried basil and oregano. For the garlic bread, I shredded some cold butter. This is a very satisfying step. Then I added in some garlic powder, like a lot. Some dried parsley, and mixed it well. Then just smearing this on some stiff bread that I had lying in the fridge. And I popped it into the oven till it got nice and toasty. Then I just tossed the pasta in the sauce and added it to a bowl with garlic bread and bon appetit. That's Wednesday's dinner. On Friday, I had lots of spare time, so I decided to make lamb biryani for dinner. So first, I made a cup of tea to accompany me during this long biryani making process. Biryani basically has 4 components: the rice, meat, the potatoes, and the fusing of everything together. And all the ingredients used will be linked in the description below. Beginning with the rice, I started with soaking my rice in cold water. That's me attempting to show you the rice even more. After about an hour, I drained the rice. Then, to some boiling water, I'm adding a bay leaf, some salt, and cooking oil. Then going in with the drained rice. And adding turmeric for color. Okay, let's talk about how much water and time the rice needs to cook. So this depends on a few things. One is the type of rice you use. I'm using long grain basmati rice, which cooks quite quickly. The rice to water ratio is 1:2. So for 1 cup of rice, I would use 2 cups of water. So since I already soaked my rice prior to cooking, I'm boiling it in half the amount of water that I would normally use. So for 1 cup of rice, I would use 1 cup of water because it's been soaked and already absorbed some water. But because I'm making biryani, I'm only going to cook this rice until it's 3/4 done because it will cook for a further 10 minutes when we add it to the meat curry. So I'll drain the water from the rice when it's about 3/4 done. And this does take practice. Whew, that's a lot to take in, but I hope it made sense. While the rice is cooking, I'm going to enjoy an episode of Mr. Kim's Convenience. I've been loving this show. Anyone else watching this show? Then, once the rice is cooked, I set it aside and get started with the meat. I marinated the meat with all these lovely spices that I will put in the description box below. I also added these cardamom pods. And I'm chopping up lots of onion that will all be fried Biryani needs fried onions for marinating the meat and also for the end, which is when we mix everything together. So I've added the fried onion, the spices, and some yogurt to my meat. Then I'm adding in some canned tomatoes and just mixing it all together. Then I added the meat along with the marinade to my hot wok and stirred it while it sizzled for about 5 minutes. After this, I covered it and let it cook on a low heat. After a little while, I was worried that my lamb may start to burn, so I added a little water and covered it again. Lamb will take a while to cook, so meanwhile I got started on my potatoes. And as for the potatoes, I had 2 very small potatoes left because it's close to the end of the week, sadly. Not sad because it's the end of the week, just sad that I'm running out of potatoes. I peeled, cut, and fried them in what looks like cumin. Yes, that's cumin. I'm finally at the point where we get to put everything together. Okay, so now I'm just slicing some tomatoes, coriander, and half a lime. Now I'm going to steam these tomatoes in the lamb stew for about 2 minutes. Then I'll remove the cover and add my coriander, lime, and the potatoes. Then I'm going to cover this with the rice and top that off with the remaining fried onions, some more coriander, and some chaat masala, which I spoke about earlier. Then it needs to be covered and left on the lowest flame for about 10 minutes. And finally you get a beautiful lamb biryani. I'm South Asian, so I know what a good biryani should taste like, and this is it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and please subscribe to my channel for more videos. See you next time.